Morning, all. All right, so we're up to the 1997-1998 season. Easy for me to say. As you can see, wearing Detroit gear as they repeat back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, and they didn't finish first again, so they learned their lesson. Don't burn yourself out during the regular season, save some energy for the postseason, and off you go. Now, I did this a little different. We're in the era now where goalie is king, and a lot of shutouts are being had, so I've got the goaltender who played the most games for each team, enter each team today. So the New Jersey Devils finished first in the East with 107 points, a record of 48, 23, and 11. 225 goals scored, 166 goals against. Marty Brodeur played 70 games that year, 917 save percentage, and 10 shutouts. For Pittsburgh, 40, 24, and 18 record for 98 points, 228 goals scored, 188 goals against. For Tom Barrasso, he plays 63 games, 922 save percentage, and 7 shutouts. So, really the year of the goaltender, and Barrasso's numbers are fantastic. Philadelphia's 42, 29, and 11 on the season, 95 points, 242 goals scored, 193 goals against. Ron Hextall plays 46 games that season, 911 save percentage, 4 shutouts. The Washington Capitals go 40, 30, and 12 on the season, 92 points, 219 goals scored, 202 goals against. Olaf Kolzig plays 64 games that season as a 920 save percentage, 5 shutouts. So it is definitely the year of the goaltender. Boston 39, 30, and 13. So after missing the playoffs, they charge back into the playoffs. 91 points, 221 goals scored, 194 goals against. Byron Dafoe had 65 games played that season, 914 save percentage, 6 shutouts. The Buffalo Sabres go 36, 29, and 17, 89 points, 211 goals scored, 187 goals against. Dominik Hasek plays 72 games, still records a 932 save percentage, 13 shutouts. So if you want to get into the argument on who the best goalie of all time is, you can use this season to go, look at that. Hasek, 72 games, still a 932 save percentage. Absolutely insane numbers. Jocelyn Thibault doing his best with Montreal, who finished 37, 32, and 13, 87 points, 235 goals scored, 208 goals against. Thibault plays 47 games, 902 save percentage, 2 shutouts. And again, he's playing well. He's just suffering from the fact that Patrick Roy is still playing really, really well for Colorado. Ottawa finishes 34, 33, and 15 for 83 points. 193 goals scored, 200 goals against. Damian Rhodes plays 50 games for them that season, 907 save percentage, 5 shutouts. Just below the playoff line, Carolina. So Hartford's gone, Carolina's in the league. 33, 41, and 8 record for Carolina, 74 points, 200 goals scored, 219 goals against. Trevor Kidd plays 47 games for Carolina, 922 save percentage, 3 shutouts. So Kidd has a good year. The Islanders, 30, 41, and 11 record, 71 points, 212 goals scored, 225 goals against. Tommy Salo plays 62 games for them that season, 906 save percentage, 4 shutouts. The New York Rangers, they crashed that year. 68 points, a record of 25, 39, and 18, 197 goals scored, 231 goals against. Mike Richter plays 72 games, 903 save percentage. He does not record a shutout. Florida finishes 24, 43, and 15, 63 points, so they crash out of the playoffs too. 203 goals scored, 256 goals against. John Van Beesbroek plays 60 games, 899 save percentage, 4 shutouts. So Beezer was fantastic initially in Florida, but his time there is winding down. Tampa Bay finishes 17, 55, and 10 for 44 points, 151 goals scored, 269 goals against. Fitzpatrick plays the most games for them that year. It's only 34 games, too. 893 save percentage, 1 shutout. So Tampa Bay having some issues. They would secure the number 1 draft pick, which gets traded around. And, eventually, the 98 first round, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about that later. Out west, because the Sedin trade's in my brain, but not yet. So the Dallas Stars go 49, 22, and 11 to win the West with 109 points, which means they also won the President's Trophy, which doesn't do them any good that year. 242 goals scored, 167 goals against. Ed Belfour, 61 games, 916 save percentage, 9 shutouts. And the season before that, Belfour looked very ordinary, and with Dallas, he really turned it on and played great. Colorado finishes second because they won their division. So even though they were 8 points behind Detroit, they get that number 2 seed. 39, 26, and 17 record, 95 points, 231 goals scored, 205 goals against. Patrick Roy plays 65 games, 916 save percentage, 4 shutouts. Detroit 44, 23, and 15, 103 points, 250 goals scored, 196 goals against. Chris Osgood, 64 games, 913 save percentage, and 6 shutouts. Put him in the Hall of Fame. St. Louis, 45, 29, and 8 record, so 98 points for St. Louis, 256 goals scored, 204 goals against. Grant Fuhr plays 58 games that year, 898 save percentage, 3 shutouts. The LA Kings, 38, 33, and 11. And yep, we got the Shield on the board there. 87 points for them, 227 goals scored, 225 goals against. Stefan Fise, 60 games played, 909 save percentage, 2 shutouts. The Arizona Coyotes go 35, 35, and 12, so 82 points even. 224 goals scored, 227 goals against. Nikolai Habibulin plays 70 games, that season, 900 save percentage, 4 shutouts. The Edmonton Oilers, 35, 37, and 10 record, so 80 points, 215 goals scored, 224 goals against. Cujo is their starting goaltender, 71 games, 905 save percentage, 8 shutouts. I'd like to see him in the Hall too. The San Jose Sharks, 34, 38, and 10 record, 210 goals scored, 216 goals against, 78 points. Mike Vernon, after winning the Conn Smythe Trophy in 97, finds himself in San Jose in 98. 62 games played, 896 save percentage, 5 shutouts for San Jose. Chicago finishes below the playoff line, 39, and 13 record, 73 points, 192 goals scored, 199 goals against. Jeff Hackett, who had very good numbers, just never played on a team that won enough games. 58 games, 917 save percentage, 8 shutouts. And I would use Hackett as an example of how wins and certain totals used to measure a goaltender, not necessarily telling you who the best are. Again, Hackett was very good on some pretty iffy to bad teams. Toronto finishes 30, 43, and 9, 69 points, 194 goals scored, 237 goals against. Felix Potvin, still the starter, 67 games, 906 save percentage, 5 shutouts. The Calgary Flames finished 26, 41, and 15, so 67 points, 217 goals scored, 252 goals against. Rick Tabaracci is the goaltender who plays the most games for them that year. 42 games, 893 save percentage, no shutouts. The Anaheim Ducks finished 26, 43, and 13, 65 points, 205 goals scored, 261 goals against. And Guy Hebert plays the most games for the Ducks that year. 46 games, 903 save percentage, 3 shutouts. Of course, they're the Mighty Ducks at this point, but I'm just used to calling them the Ducks. It doesn't really matter. Vancouver finishes last in the West. 25, 43, and 14 record, 224 goals scored, 273 goals against. They have 64 points that season, so 1 point behind Anaheim. I'll figure out how to talk today at some point. Urbe, 41 games, 907 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. So this is the season that the Board of Governors say we're going to 30. June 25th of 1997, the NHL approves Nashville, Atlanta, Minnesota, and Columbus as new locations for hockey teams, keeping in mind this is Atlanta's second chance. And right now, as I'm recording this, we're discussing what might be a third chance for Atlanta soon. This is the last season the Leafs are in the Western Conference, and honestly, the Leafs and the Red Wings don't belong in the Western Conference. Yes, the Red Wings had some great playoff series and runs, and they won Stanley Cups, but they're an Eastern-based team and should be in the East, and of course, that's where they are now. But the whole debate's still out there. Some people do miss Detroit in the West. I don't think anybody misses Toronto in the West, which is odd, but yeah. Toronto, they would move to the East the following season with the addition of the Nashville Predators. This is the final season as well with 4 divisions. They changed it to 6 the following year. Of course, we're back down to 4 because 6 divisions, the chance of there being a division winner that's not very good, it's pretty high. And so we would go back to 4 divisions. So last season, in the previous video that I did about this, 127 shutouts was a new NHL record. It shattered. This season, it's 160. So now you're about 20% of the games, or more than 15% of the games are shutouts. So again, team scores first and the game's done. You can just, 2 minutes into the first period, a goal scored. All right, let's pack up and go. They won. They got a goal. That's it. And I think this is where the NHL realized they had a problem, that the neutral zone trap had really taken over the NHL. There's not shots taking place. There's really this focus on defense, 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 and it's really taking the creativity out of the game, which Mario Lemieux would talk about when he retired. You'll notice that Lemieux's name isn't on the board here. Yeah, Mario was unhappy. His back took a lot of punishment from the physicality and from them not calling a lot of the physicality against him when they were cross checks and things of that nature. So it's an interesting time in that it's fun to look back on, but the hockey itself to watch was not really all that great. At least for people who like to see, creativity and scoring, this era was all about defense, defense, more defense, and a lot of hooking, clutching, grabbing. Not a lot of room out there for players to play. This is also the era where if you're a smaller player, good luck making it to the league. So the Canucks and Mighty Ducks opened the season with 2 games in Tokyo. That is the first time that the NHL played regular season games outside of North America. Now it's a tradition. We don't think anything of it. But back then it was kind of an interesting new wrinkle to the NHL schedule. It was also the first time that the NHL sends players to the Olympics, which was won by the Czechs. Dominik Hasek, just as good at the Olympics as in the National Hockey League. So other than a Stanley Cup, which he would get later in Detroit, he's got some hardware already in his career. July 2nd of 1997, the Stars signed Ed Belfour. So Belfour had been in Chicago most of his career. He was traded to San Jose right around the trade deadline the year before. Played terribly in San Jose. So when Dallas signed him, I was really nervous because Belfour had looked pretty bad in San Jose, but he was great in Dallas. So nervous? Shouldn't have been. February 6th of 1998, the Islanders trade Todd Bertuzzi as well as Brian McCabe and a 1998 third to the Canucks for Trevor Linden. This is a trade that is one going away by the Vancouver Canucks, although Trevor Linden's exit sat badly in the mouths of Canucks fans because Mark Messier comes in, he takes the C, he brings the 11 down out of the rafters. That was a number that had been retired previously for Wayne Mackey. And now the face of the franchise, Trevor Linden's traded. And even though the Canucks win that trade, from a PR standpoint, it's kind of a nightmare early on. October 26th of 1997, Yzerman passes Delvecchio, a previous captain for the Red Wings, and becomes the NHL's longest-serving captain. So this is one of my Yzerman jerseys here, and figured it was a good time to wear it right now. November 22nd of 1997, Michel Petit is the first NHL player to play with 10 different teams as he makes his debut with the Phoenix Coyotes. Petit bounced around the league a lot. Started out in Vancouver, but once he had that first trade, from then on, he bounced around a lot. December 22nd of 1997, Scotty Bowman becomes the first coach to win more than 200 games with 3 different NHL teams. He did it with Montreal, Buffalo, and Detroit. I am also surprised he didn't have 200 wins with St. Louis. June 13th of 1997 is a tragic day in Detroit Red Wings history, but it inspires that repeat. So they win the Stanley Cup in 1997, and they party, as players do. And they're responsible about it. They get a limo, and the limo crashes. Vlad Konstantinov's career is ended. 6 days after they win the Stanley Cup, there's a dark cloud over it as the accident takes place. Konstantinov will not play again. There was tremendous concern about his health at the time. And so that is used kind of as a springboard by Detroit, a real inspiration for them the following season, as we'll talk about when we get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So the Art Ross Trophy goes to Jaromir Jagr of Pittsburgh, who's become basically the top scorer in the league. The Masterton goes, and I don't mean just like the Art Ross, just the most dangerous offensive player. The Masterton goes to Jamie McLennan of the St. Louis Blues. The Calder goes to Sergei Samsonov of the Boston Bruins. The Selke goes to Jiri Lehtinen of the Dallas Stars. The Hart Trophy goes to Dominik Hasek of the Buffalo Sabres. The Conn Smythe goes to Steve Yzerman of the Detroit Red Wings, who finally overcomes all the naysayers and all the negativity. And he has that back-to-back Stanley Cup, and now he has a Conn Smythe as well. The Jack Adams goes to Pat Burns with the Boston Bruins. So I think he had the Jack Adams with Toronto, Montreal, and now with Boston as well. It is still a surprise it took as long to get him inducted into the Hall of Fame as it did. The Norris Trophy goes to Rob Blake of the LA Kings. The King Clancy goes to Kelly Chase of the St. Louis Blues. The Lady Byng goes to Ron Francis of the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Lester Pearson goes to Dominic Hasek of the Sabres, who of course wins the Vezina as well. It is Hasek's league at this point. And the Jennings goes to Marty Brodeur of New Jersey as the Devils' defense. And their goaltending means they have the lowest goals against in the league. But yeah, it is ridiculous to look at the numbers Hasek's putting up. That .932 save percentage. He played 72 games and he still had a .932 save percentage. Insane. Your league all-stars at the end of the year, Peter Forsberg of Colorado was the first team all-star down the middle. Wayne Gretzky of the Rangers is second team again. On the left side, John LeClaire of the Flyers is first team. Keith Tkachuk of the Phoenix Coyotes is second team. On the right side, Jaromir Jagr of the Pittsburgh Penguins first team. Teemu Selanne of Anaheim second team. On the blue line, Nick Lidstrom of Detroit makes his first appearance on the board. Rob Blake, the other first team all-star, and of course he did win the Norris that year. Chris Pronger of St. Louis and Scott Niedermayer of the New Jersey Devils are your second team all-stars. Those two players would eventually unite in Anaheim. In net, Dominic Hasek's first team all-star from Buffalo. Marty Brodeur of New Jersey, second team all-star. So looking at the scoring, Jaromir Jagr is the only 100-point producer that year. So again, in 92-93, there's 21 of them. We're now 97-98. There's one left. Jagr, 77 games, 35 goals, 67 assists, 102 points. Forsberg in Colorado, 72 games, 25 goals, 66 assists for 91 points. Bure in Vancouver, 82 games, 51 goals, 39 assists, 90 points. Gretzky in New York, 82 games, 23 goals, 67 assists for 90 points. LeClaire in Philadelphia, 82 games, 51 goals, 36 assists for 87 points. Ziggy Palffy with the Islanders, 82 games, 45 goals, 42 assists, 87 points. Ron Francis with Pittsburgh, 81 games, 25 goals, 62 assists, 87 points. Teemu Selanne in Anaheim, 73 games, 52 goals, 34 assists for 86 points. Jason Allison with Boston, 81 games, 33 goals, 50 assists for 83 points. And Joseph Stumple in LA, who would end up in Boston, and Allison ends up in LA. But Stumple, 77 games, 21 goals, 58 assists, 79 points. In net, I've already talked about the games played, the shutouts and everything. So I thought, I'll look at goals against average. Belfour had a 1.88 goals against average that season. Brodeur had a 1.89. Barrasso a 2.07. And Hasek a 2.09. Absolutely insane. So we get to the playoffs now. And in the first round, or conference quarterfinals as they're dubbed, St. Louis beats LA 4 games straight. The Detroit Red Wings beat Phoenix 4 games to 2. I was really rooting for the Coyotes that year. It didn't happen. It's not meant to happen. That's where me cheering for underdogs just doesn't help. The Oilers beat Colorado 4 games to 3. So again, the Oilers do well as an underdog during this era. They'd beaten Dallas in 7 games the previous year too. Dallas does beat San Jose in the first round this year 4 games to 2. Washington beats Boston 4 games to 2, which at times has been a bad matchup for Boston. Buffalo beats Philadelphia 4 games to 1. Montreal beats Pittsburgh 4 games to 2. And the Ottawa Senators beat New Jersey in a huge upset 4 games to 2. Nobody saw that one coming. The New Jersey Devils 107 points, Ottawa with 83, and Ottawa pulls off the upset. So the conference semifinals, Detroit beats St. Louis 4 games to 2. Dallas gets their revenge on Edmonton with a 4 games to 1 series victory. Buffalo beats Montreal in 4 straight. So that's the Hasek effect. And Washington beats Ottawa in a battle of the nation's capitals 4 games to 1. But Ottawa's let people know they're on their way. Conference finals now. Detroit wins in Dallas 2-0. This has been a bad matchup for Dallas over the years. Dallas ties the series with a 3-1 win. It then goes to Detroit, where the Wings win both by scores of 5-3 and 3-2. Dallas wins in overtime to stay in the series with a 3-2 win. And then Detroit wins 2-0 at home to win the series in 6. On the other side, Buffalo wins in Washington 2-0 to get themselves a little closer. But in overtime, Washington wins. First at home 3-2, and then in Buffalo 4-3. So back-to-back overtime wins for the Capitals. They then win in Buffalo 2-0 to get themselves ahead 3 games to 1. Buffalo answers, winning in Washington 2-1, but then Washington wins in overtime for a 3rd time in the series, again 3-2, and again in Buffalo. So they win 3 games in overtime in this series, 2 of those in Buffalo. In the Stanley Cup final, Washington on one side, Detroit on the other. I really rooted for Washington loudly during that final. It didn't make a lick of difference, which it doesn't. It just doesn't. We always sort of, I got to wear this jersey, I got to wear these socks, and but good luck. It does, none of it matters. Detroit wins 2-1 in the first game, the second game in double overtime by a score of 5-4. And then Detroit goes into Washington and sweeps the series by scores of 2-1 and 4-1. It's a 4-game sweep. In that Stanley Cup final, Doug Brown, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points for him. Holmstrom had a goal and 4 assists. Yzerman had 2 goals, 2 assists. And Martin Lapointe, 2 goals and an assist there. Osgood had a .929 save percentage, put him in the Hall of Fame. And then Joe Juneau had a goal and 3 assists for Washington. Brian Bellows had 2 goals and an assist, and Adam Oates had a goal and 2 assists. Ole the goalie, Olaf Kolzig, had a .920 save percentage in what was a low-scoring final in a very low-scoring National Hockey League. So there you go, the 97-98 season. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.